Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jordan Cameron back with another update video of the biggest blow off top in crypto history, followed by the biggest rug pull in crypto history. If you have not been following the channel over the course of the last couple months, right, from about March to April when everyone was scared of the tariffs, okay, we've been saying on this channel that the total market cap is going to go on a massive blow off top up to the 10 trillion market cap level, up to the 4236 Fibonacci, where everyone, including your uncle and your aunt, will say that crypto will change the world. And that has happened, right? Since the March and April lows, we've seen total market cap rise from about 2.3 trillion, almost a 2x at this point, up to 4.3 trillion. Now, I do not believe that this is the end. I do believe that we're going significantly higher, and we're going to talk about that in today's video before we get ultimately the rug pull, probably in 2026 or 2027, depending on how long this lasts. But what I also want to talk about in today's video, thank you guys so much for pushing the channel over 100,000 subscribers. Man, I've been doing this for about 5 years. The support from the very beginning of making the videos to the live streams to now making videos and, you know, jumping around has been absolutely insane. Thank you guys so much for the support. And I owe it all to you guys, and I owe you guys a live stream at some point this week. But I want to talk a little bit about today about entries, right? And exits and why I think everyone's sort of emotional when it comes to the altcoin market, because every time we seem to have a dip and we actually end up putting a higher low for total 3, which is the altcoin market, everyone seems to be in a bad mood. And I think it's because people are buying every time this total 3 chart gets into this resistance point instead of buying a higher low, which has been the move since the April or March, April low, whatever you want to say, right? Since the tariff lows, just been buying the higher lows and not FOMOing into the 900 billion to 1 trillion resistance level for the altcoin market cap. Okay, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit about that today, if I could talk. But first, we're gonna jump into our thesis here. And guys, the thesis still remains higher, right? And, you know, you're still going to have the haters in the comment section come in, and the haters sort of dictate. Don't let them dictate what you think in the comment section. Stick to your guns, and that's what I've done since April, since I've been calling for my thesis to sort of have this move up for total market cap, and it's been continuously correct. Don't let the comments and the people in the comment section change your thesis on what's going to happen, because on this channel, we are strictly basing this off of charts, right? We're basing this off of data and charts. We're not basing this off our emotions. And that's what's very important here. So what I kind of want to touch on first is why we're just continue to believe that the market's going to go higher, right? So we did see total market cap hit a 4.26, the highest level that we've ever seen. So congratulations for everyone that's in the market. And obviously, the coins are going to take turns, right? So total market cap hit a new all-time high, right? Bitcoin hit a new all-time high. Ethereum got a few percentages away. We've seen Binance coin is sort of the hot one right now that's pushing up the market, right? Binance coin is pushing up. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but the coins are going to take turns, right? And it's about identifying and staying patient for the coins that you're currently in, right? Not jumping around from coin to coin, but being patient on the ones that haven't pumped yet, and not jumping from narrative to narrative right at resistance, right? So as we kind of go along, we do believe that the total market cap of crypto is going to continue higher, but it's going to be different coins taking turns based on different narratives that are coming out at those times, right? So we obviously know Bitcoin leads first typically, and we've seen Bitcoin come up and make a new all-time high, sort of wicking above the previous highs. Could have a little bit of a short-term pullback, but we're not really worried about short-term pullbacks in this channel. We're more so looking at the bigger picture, right? So as we have Bitcoin wicking the highs, you know, 121,000 as we currently speak, we hit a high of 126,000, right? We're expecting something else to take a turn. Right now, it's Binance coin, right? But do we believe that the overall market, right, the overall cryptocurrency total market cap is going to continue up? And the answer is yes, even through short-term fluctuations, right? We've had many short-term fluctuations since the April low, but we continue to see total market cap continue up at higher highs and higher lows. What's our main reason of thinking that the total cryptocurrency market cap is going to continue higher? Well, it's the stablecoin dominance chart, and I've said this many, many times. This is our stablecoin dominance Wyckoff accumulation, and if you know anything about Wyckoff accumulation schematics, this is very eerily similar to one that we see typically in crypto, where we see this long drawn-out bear, right? We see this long sideways consolidation, right? We see this big hit to the low, right? The big scare that gets everyone bearish, right? Before we ultimately go on into a new bull market, right? Very eerily reminiscent of any type of crypto chart if you've been in the market for very, very long. But this, in fact, is the opposite, right? This is the stablecoin dominance. And if you know anything about this chart, is that when it goes down, that typically means that crypto in general is going up, right? It's inversely correlated. People, when they sell their stablecoins, right? They typically move it into cryptos. Okay, not always. Sometimes they go into cash, but they typically move into cryptos, right? These are inversely correlated almost to a T. So we are expecting this to move down to at least 4.91%, where we saw in 2024 twice, okay, before ultimately getting a larger move to the upside. Now, what this means is until we hit 4.91%, okay, which still means that we have lower to go on stablecoin dominance. And this is the chart we've been following since March and April, the tariff lows, saying it's going to get moved back down to the range low. So we're expecting crypto to continue up. So until this gets to 4.91%, we're still, throughout any pullbacks, throughout any short-term corrections, throughout any daily candles, big red candles. Actually, today we're seeing a little bit of a pullback for the market, right? You got multiple coins down 7, 8, 9%. We're still expecting the market to go higher ultimately on the higher time frames because we have not seen our macro stablecoin dominance chart hit 4.91%. And on every little pullback, you're going to get the people and saying, oh, you're wrecked, despite the market just making higher highs and higher lows. And every red candle, we're wrecked, and then the market goes higher, and then all those people go in a hole and are nowhere to be found, okay? So on this red candle we're currently getting, if we go on to make a higher high, the current people saying you're wrecked are going to be nowhere to be found, just like all the people that were nowhere to be found, really, this whole bull. But anyways, that's besides the point. We are expecting total market cap to continue up because we're expecting stablecoin dominance to continue down. Now, as we said many, many times, okay, the altcoin market is going to move, right? The general altcoin market, okay, is going to break out of this really 900 billion resistance, okay? And I think that's what's really going to set off the true altcoin season until we see this big green box that has been holding us down since 2021 twice and 2024 break. I think it's going to mostly be different coins taking turns, right? Obviously, right now it's Binance, right? We have XRP take a turn. We've had Doge take a turn. We've had memes take turns. We've had, Ethereum take a turn. But I think what's really going to break this out, as I've said many, many times, is the typical cyclical nature of crypto, right? It's Bitcoin leading the charge, right? Bitcoin getting the first move, and then it's finally Ethereum breaking out. We have not seen that yet, right? And that's something that might take a little patience. This might take, another few weeks for us to finally get Ethereum breaking into the new all-time highs. But I've said many, many times, I think what's going to get this total 3 chart, which is the rest of the altcoin market going absolute parabolic, is going to be the Ethereum chart finally breaking, is really all-time high. And I think right now what we have is simply flipping all these previous resistance points just into support, okay? Which maybe take another test or two down to about 4,000 before we actually get the breakout. But ultimately, the patient people, I think, will be the people who will win as long as ETH holds above 4,000. I think you're going to see higher prices for Ethereum, and that's eventually what's going to push this total 3 chart for all the people that are super impatient for the altcoins that aren't moving. Those people are going to be punished when they get impatient, and really all we're doing is squeezing, making higher lows, squeezing to that 2021 all-time high. We're going to run out of room here at the bottom of our wedge. It's only a matter of time. You don't really have a lot of room, right? Sometime in Q4, I am expecting this chart to break to the upside towards the top of our rising wedge, okay? And ultimately make its own macro rising wedge where we get a massive move up to the rising wedge, and ultimately we actually end up dumping, which once again would be the inverse of our stablecoin dominance chart, right? Where it just moves down and then eventually moves up, okay? For whatever reason, for whatever narrative you want to come out, maybe stablecoins become very, very popular. Maybe stablecoins actually become part of the world, right? That's why stablecoin dominance goes up. Maybe we go into a major bear market, people selling all their cryptos for stables, okay? We don't really know. We're just going to follow the charts and not get too emotional of why it's going to happen, okay? Now, Another chart that makes me believe that total 3 is going to eventually break to the upside is our Bitcoin dominance, ETH dominance, and stablecoin dominance chart. Okay, and right now, once again, we're kind of just hovering here around 78%. But what this chart shows is I am expecting this chart to move back down to the bottom of the range. But what this chart shows is my expectation of every other coin besides Bitcoin, ETH, and stable coins to start outperforming Bitcoin, ETH, and stable coins. Okay. Right. So again, we've seen this trend line that's been holding since 2021 finally break to the downside right here in November 2024. That was the election. That was sort of the catalyst to get this to break. We've come back up. We've bearishly retested multiple times that trend line here. And I am expecting this to start pushing to the downside, which means that everything besides Bitcoin, ETH, and stablecoins outperforms Bitcoin, ETH, and stablecoins. Okay, just another confluence factor of why I believe that the altcoin market is going to start moving. Doesn't necessarily mean today, doesn't necessarily mean tomorrow. I think the patient people will win throughout the chop of sort of hitting our head against the 2021 all-time highs. And I want to sort of move away from our thesis just for a minute here. Right, and nothing's really changed from our thesis, guys. But I really want to hit this point home of I think the market's so emotional right now because I think people keep buying the tops. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Well, guys, I think all you really need is a few charts to really be successful in the crypto market, especially right now. But I think one of the most important levels right now is this 2021 resistance level, right, for the altcoin market. And I think what's happening right now and why a lot of people are sort of getting emotional despite the market moving up, okay, so that the altcoin market actually moving up in general, okay, is people keep buying the highs, right? People, every time we come back up into this green box, people buy. And then when there's a pullback, no one's buying the pullbacks, right? No one, whenever we get some sort of pullback and we try to make another higher low, another higher low, another higher low, higher low, higher low. Every time there's a higher low, no one wants to buy those higher lows. But every time we get a move up into the green box, everyone's bullish and everyone's buying, right? So what I want to stress here is, guys, do not buy high, okay? And I know that's one of the most simple things you can say, but every time we come into this green box, guys, do not be a buyer. Do not be a buyer in this green box because we typically get a pullback. Eventually, I do expect this to break to the upside, but it's going to make you way less emotional of actually waiting for any type of pullback, okay, into, right, a higher low to actually be a buyer. So then when the market moves up into resistance, you're actually in profits and you're not as emotional on every little red day. Because if you buy into this green box of resistance every single time, you're going to be an emotional wreck, all right? You're going to be an emotional wreck on every red day. Like today, for example, you got coins down 7-8%, but if you were buying lower, you wouldn't be that emotional about it, right? If you bought yesterday when the market was right into the resistance, you're going to be a little bit emotional about it, right? So I think my main point here is as we kind of go along, we kind of get further into the cycle. I think it's a main point of this channel that even into resistance, you probably want to be a profit taker rather than a buyer. And especially when this chart breaks out, which I do expect it to break out within the next few months, that's when you definitely want to be a profit taker and not a buyer, because the buyer of pumps is the emotional trader, right? Is the emotional investor. And we're not going to be the emotional investor here. So if we do see another pullback on total 3, guys, make sure if your bags aren't fully packed and you've actually been wanting to buy something, you're doing it on the red. You're not doing it on the green, okay? And I'm sure something tells me, we may not break out right now. We might actually get another pullback here. Make sure you guys are loaded. And if you had the urge to buy the last few days, you just had a FOMO. Remember your FOMO on the green days when we get the red days, all right? Because those are the times you actually want to be buying, okay? Not seriously. I'm not really buying anything else, right? I'll do some trades, but I'm not really looking to buy any more spot holdings at this point in the market. I've been all my spot holdings months ago, years ago. So I'm not really trying to do any more buys. But if you are, make sure you're doing it on the red. Okay, make sure you're doing it on the red. All right. So as we sort of move on here, and my sort of last point as we kind of kick along here, guys, is patience. It wins the game, right? Patience wins the game, and we have our invalidations, right? Bitcoin right now, okay? The 50 moving average bands right now is currently sit at about 100,000 to 101,000. we continue to remain a bull on crypto as long as Bitcoin stays above the 50 moving average bands, which once again is 100,000 to 101,000. We are bulls unless we get a weekly close below there. And if we take a look at our other charts, right, as long as total market cap stays above 3.68 trillion, the previous 2024 high, all is good for the total market cap chart. And if we go over to the Ethereum chart, as long as Ethereum holds above 4,000 on a weekly close, it's simply a retest. Even if we go back and test it again, all is good on the Ethereum chart. So, guys, it's another day of following the thesis. It's another day of, okay, we're red today, so everyone's going to be like, oh my God, you're wrecked, right? That's typically the crypto market. But you're only wrecked if you bought the last few days, okay? Now, just to sort of point out where we're kind of at, right? We are seeing a run on BNB. I would say this when it comes to BNB is I think there's some interesting beta plays to be had. And I have, been playing some Aster. I have been playing some Cake. Just because I think, you have some very interesting plays here on the Binance ecosystem. I typically don't talk too much about, specific coins on the channel. I mainly stick to my thesis. But, as we kind of go along here, right, Binance coin has absolutely gone nuts into price discovery. And there's coins like Pancake Swap and Aster that I think have some interesting, ordeals over the course of the next few weeks if you continue to see a Binance coin season. Different reasons. Not going to talk about them. I think on the charts, they speak for themselves. But I kind of want to end the video there, not talk too much about individual altcoins, and just kind of stick to our thesis of why we think that the total market cap of crypto, despite different coins kind of taking turns, it's just going to continue to move up to 10 trillion, the 4236 fib, the top of our rising wedge, before we ultimately have to switch tone and switch into bears and be a perma bear, even though I'm not going to like to be a perma bear. I really don't. I kind of like being a perma bull. But I'm not a perma bull, right? I will have a point where I am out of the market, where everyone's going to be calling me dumb, right? Just like everyone's kind of calling me dumb the last few months on the move up for different reasons, right? Tariffs, Trump sucks, and here we are at all-time highs. I think the same people are going to be calling me dumb for being a bear once we get up to that 4236 Fibonacci level. So, guys, once again, thank you for the continued support. Thank you for the 100,000 of you that have watched this channel and chose to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you guys subscribe. Next stop, 200,000. And if you want to join the team and just kind of join the journey to see if this thesis plays out or whether it does, if it does, you're here for it. And if it doesn't, you can come in the comments section and laugh at me. I think it's all fun and games. When we talk about our thesis of why we think the market's going where it's going based on charts and not based off feelings. And I think we got a fun ride to come here. Like I said, over the next few months, it's already kind of been fun, right? 121,000 Bitcoin. If you told me that, 3 years ago, I would think that's crazy, man. You know what I mean? So crazy times in the market. I think we got way more crazy times coming up over the next few months, guys. All right. So it's been your boy Jordan Cameron. I'll catch you guys in the next video or live stream, depending on what's happening in the market. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.